If ever you've seen or used one of these, then it almost certainly was made by these people. Across the world, Rycote's microphone windshields are pretty much ubiquitous, and even people who don't work in TV or video recognise the sight of a furry windjammer.
3 days.
This is how they're made, in a factory in Gloucestershire by a small team, many of whom have been with the company for years. They even make special order ones for events such as football matches and the Wimbledon tennis tournament. But last year the company introduced new types of windshield that don't use fur at all, the Super Softie and the Cyclone.
Fur, we introduced in 1985, the first ever windjammer, is a great product and is fantastic at wind performance when new. But when it's been used a while, and we've all seen windjammers that are sort of 6 months, 2 years old, that then start to resemble roadkill rather than they do sort of like a microphone cover. We want predictability at the start, so in manufacture it works every time the same time, but also after a few years it carries on working, and so we wanted the performance of the windshield as the people are used to it with the windshield, with the windjammer fitted, but with acoustic transparency.
We at Tube Shooter tested the Super Softie several times, and whilst it does have certain benefits, there was a fairly substantial issue which we needed to query. You can hear the wind.
Yes.
Granted, it stops the mic distorting, granted,
Yes.
It stops the low frequency on, but I can still hear it whistling.
Yes.
And I'm like, but I bought this as a windshield.
Yes.
What's going on?
Well, we do realise now we have created ourselves a slightly different problem where the windjammer, when you fit it on there, sounds like you've put something on there, there is in any situation where you put something on a microphone, you're going to have an effect. There's a compromise. A cover of some sorts will have an effect at some frequencies. The problem with 3D text, and I say problem, is that the sounds that you didn't hear when you had a fur on, you can now hear. So if there's wind around the boom pole, or if there's wind around the actual camera knuckle or the actual sort of tripod, it's actually wind noise. It's not the wind hitting the transducer, it's wind noise coming through. It's wind that you would hear coming through the twigs or branches on a tree. You can actually now hear the full spectrum, whereas before you couldn't. So it is a challenge because some of those sounds are there that you want to hear, but actually, if you want to lose that, you can always put a fur cover on there. But it's a challenge for us because there's sounds that you wouldn't have heard before that are there now. So, but it's just the sound of the wind. It's not wind noise.
Rycote is proud of its history and of its made in Britain ethos, but there's an odd mix of technical heritage that goes into their products.
We work very locally, with suppliers. Swindon, we've got some moulders over there. They come in, they work with us, they talk through better ways of us making something that will make it more efficient, easier to use it with other components, but really it's then using technology that other people have developed as well. So the 3D text from the Super Softie and the Cyclone are materials that people will recognise from, if you've got a North Face bag and you see the webbing, that's a 3D text type of material. We work very closely with the company to develop our one, but again it's development of materials that we can see will work for years and years and years, and it's locally sourced. So then when we go to the mouldings and plastic parts that you'll see on ours, we again used some of the technology or material developed by Land Rover. If you look at a Land Rover Discovery's door handle and you look at the material of it, it looks very similar to some of the components that we use, the actual material. So it's a very brittle material, but it's got a rubber built in there to stop it shattering. And it's also got a UV stabilizer so it won't break. So as a material it's plastic, but it's a very exotic plastic.
For many people, the cost of a Rycote windjammer is off-putting to say the least. They're not cheap, and there are plenty of low-cost alternatives. But the company insists they're good value.
The longevity of some of our products is disastrous from a sales front. We can get 30 years and someone brings in a bit of kit. We can identify who made it, when they made it, and we can fix it. So, and that's important, I think, because a lot of our gear is used for a long time and then has a good value at the end of it when you're selling your mic. So it's important for us. We're engineers, we make things to last. We know that in the news and the sports or like arenas, if you didn't make them to last, someone would lose their workflow for a day, and we would never sort of like want that responsibility. So we will always make it to last.
And no matter what you think of their kit, their prices, or their new technology, we at Tube Shooter applaud any company that welcomes an office dog. He's good for morale, apparently. If this video was interesting, please do click that like button and subscribe to the Tube Shooter channel for future updates. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.